Hello and welcome to Spirits of the Hellements. This is a game all about using your elemental spirits, which are based on lightning, wind and fire, to fend off various creatures which are rising up from hell. It's not really story driven, it's just a kind of fun, simple tower defense game with some unique mechanics, but also very easy to pick up if you've played literally any tower defense game before. So we're going to jump in pretty quickly here. We're going to start off with just the first couple of levels, which are First Wave and Second Assault. We'll be explaining the gameplay mechanics as we go through, but let's just jump in. So this is First Wave, the first omen of a deadly invasion. The hordes of hell must be stopped at all costs. So this is the first mission of the game. We can see that there is a hex-based grid. We can see that we are being instructed to place our first tower down, which is called a spirit. It says, a portal from the underworld has appeared. Place a forest spirit on the blessed tile to defend the Hellement crystal. So this is our Hellement crystal. This is our blessed tile. Blessing tiles is a big part of the game. It's how you kind of direct the enemy creatures. So we can see that a number of other blessed tiles have just appeared. We can boost our defense by placing another forest spirit and press the start button to the right to continue. So this is fairly straightforward. If you played any tower defense game before, this is pretty much something you'll already be familiar with. You can zoom in and out. You can look at your towers. You can choose what they target, which is actually a feature I really quite like. You can choose whether they target the first creatures coming in or the last. You can choose whether they focus primarily on air or ground-based targets. There's also an upgrade tree, which allows you to make choices as you go through. And you can see the three different types of elements available. So there's the fire route, the electric route, and the wind route. But we'll get into that stuff later. Let's just get back into the game for now, and let's start this off with our first wave. So we can see that the first wave is coming in. It's going to be 10 of these things, these little imps. And obviously it's the very first wave of the very first level, so it presents no real challenge whatsoever. But we can see as we look through this, there are several more waves coming, and different types of creatures are going to be appearing. And once all of that is done, a new stage will begin, and when new stages begin, it does influence some of the gameplay mechanics. Okay, so click on one of the forest spirits to upgrade it. So we have a choice of two upgrades, Heart of Stone, which increases the damage it does by an additional 10. So if we look at the upgrade tree, base damage is 12, so if we increase the damage by 10, that's going to be about double damage compared to what it is now. If we give it +1 range, just going to help it do more damage in general as the units move through. So let's go with Farsight, because I think 135 just for the sake of doubling its damage, not actually that useful. I think this is more useful to us. Okay, the game is now instructing us to place a blessing on the mark tile using the buttons at the bottom right. Enemies will walk around your blessings, but they must have a valid path to the base. So this is a big part of the strategy of the game. It's just directing them down certain routes in order to elongate their path towards your crystals. We have 5 blessed tiles available to us, which is this icon just here. So let's just drop one there as it instructs, and let's block off that path. We still have 5 left. I'm not sure where the others came from, but we can of course just elongate this even more. So let's just drop this here, and let's have them go all the way around there. Still 3 left, so let's just go with, let's see, it's the first level so it doesn't really matter, but let's just put one there, and let's put one there, and finally let's put one there. So they've got a pretty lengthy path there, and we can now go straight to the next wave. But before we do, because we do have a lot of new blessed tiles, we are capable of putting our towers or our spirits in any of these hexes. Doesn't really matter which. Let's just go with this one because it's maybe not there actually. That's not the best place. We want to go somewhere like this because that has a good amount of range that we can go with. We still have lots of stuff that we can spend, but it's the first level, so I'm not in a rush to do that. I'm pretty sure we're going to be fine. Let's see. Yeah, this guy's taken out about half on his own, so I don't think we need to spend our currency just yet. Can see our currency at the top right here. It's currently at 770, and it's going up rapidly as we kill off the opposing creatures. Okay, so this is a new gameplay mechanic, which is a fire Hellement tile has appeared. Enemies that walk through the tile take increased damage, and if we bless the tile, it will force them to walk through it. So as it explains there, they will take increased damage from all sources, and their health regeneration will be lowered. Okay, we also have 1 extra blessing that we can go with. So let's just drop this one there. And let's go back, start off the next wave. We can drop more spirits as the mission goes on, but let's just see what these next types of creatures are like first. So they do appear to be a bit more resilient. Let's just play it safe and let's throw on an extra spirit. I think we would have been fine either way, but still. Okay, so we've now got 1,550 to spend. We are obviously doing quite well. Spirits can be placed on blessed Hellements to provide them with powerful bonuses, but blessing the Hellement will cost 3 blessings. Try blessing the new fire Hellement. So we've got 3 blessings available. Of course, we're going to drop it on this. And then what we have the option of doing is we have the option of a second type of tower, a second spirit called the Explosive Spirit. Explosive Spirit has joined the fight. Place either spirit on the blessed fire Hellement to continue. Each spirit will get different buffs when placed on the Hellement. So for a spirit, if we place it on here, it's going to do 100% more damage, and the Explosive Spirit is going to project a jet of fire that damages enemies and permanently melts off 10 armor. These guys coming up have 0 armor, so I don't think we're too worried about that. Let's just throw this guy on for the extra damage, and let's give him some more range, because I think range is going to be extra useful on the spirit that's going to be doing extra damage. Okay, so there's another choice coming up, which is we can either attack at a faster rate, or we can throw projectiles with more force, gaining an additional 10 damage and +1 range. I think I prefer the sound of that, although it is the less expensive upgrade, so perhaps the faster rate is a lot faster, but I still like the idea of this more, so let's go with that. We do have the choice of upgrading it even further. We can see that we have the option of chaining projectiles and some other things, but I don't think we need to spend anything else just yet, because this guy should be pretty powerful. Should be able to, finish them off very quickly. You have a choice between 2 different game speeds. This is the normal game speed, which does look a bit more sensible, but also I think it's a little bit too slow. I think you would end up fast forwarding it in the vast majority of cases, unless you're struggling. Okay, so a new gameplay mechanic once again. This is called a Chaos Breach. You choose a boost to help you through, but be careful, boosts are tied to modifiers that make enemies stronger too. So the choices we're given are Spiritual Essence for an extra 474 souls, which is the currency, but the enemies will gain 4 bonus armor each. There's also Offering, which gives us 4 extra blessings, but monsters will gain 20% increased health, and Set Ablaze, which places 1 fire element on 1 of 3 randomly selected tiles, but the monsters will gain additional health regeneration. So I don't want to give them extra armor. I don't think we want to do that. I don't think we care much about extra blessings. I think we'll just go for Set Ablaze. So we have a choice between this hex, and this hex. I think we want to go for this one. Pretty useless at the moment, but I'm hoping we're going to get ourselves an extra blessed hex that we might be able to use, or 3 in fact, that we might be able to use to actually place a Hellement there later on. Chaos Breaches contain elites, which are stronger enemies with extra health. Okay, so before we go into this, let's take an Explosive Spirit, and let's just drop him here at the front. So this is a different type of spirit, of course. The options to upgrade this thing are Molten Projectiles for an extra 5 damage and increased explosion radius, and Higher Velocity for extra damage and extra range. If we look into this thing's upgrade tree, the base damage is pretty similar to the Forest Spirit, but I think there's obviously wider splash damage. 0.5 attacks per second, can't target flyers, but that's not relevant in this particular level. Okay, let's go with increased radius, and let's go with increased attack speed. That's quite expensive, but I think it's going to make a big difference. So let's see how much we do. So these are the big elites coming through. They've got the kind of skull indicator. And yeah, we're pretty easily finishing everything off. Even the elites, as they go over the fire element, they're not doing too well. Okay, so the Chaos Breach has been overcome, sort of, but we do still have a few upcoming waves that we have to worry about. Alright, so that went extremely well. We now have 6 more blessings that we can drop, so let's go with this hex. And outside of that, let's go with whatever's going to help make this longer. Perhaps we go with this. Yeah, we'll go with this because this forces them through this little corridor, which is going to be attacked by 3 different towers at once. Okay, let's go for it. So a wind element has appeared. Enemies that walk through the wind element are slowed down for a short duration. Spirits can be placed on wind elements for different bonuses from the fire element. Try placing your newly earned blessings to make use of the wind element. There's a slight problem there, which is that I already went and spent them, but we can see what it actually does. So this is Nature's Gift, grants all spirits in range 8 bonus damage. So you can see how that kind of pairs with some of the other towers potentially. Then there's this one, which would give us enemies are stunned for 2 seconds the first time they're hit by this spirit. So that sounds pretty good too. I'm just going to have to skip that though because we've already spent those blessed tiles. Not in the most productive way, but never mind. We should be fine, yeah, we're handling this stuff completely fine. So these things are not a problem. We've got coming up pretty much more of the same. Don't think we need to worry about that. Yeah, so fairly straightforward. Actually, this is kind of bad. I'm going to drop this guy on here right now. And I'm going to give him increased radius. And I'm going to give him increased damage. Because they are starting to get through. And let's just throw this guy in. Just for good measure. Okay, this should be enough. We should be able to finish this off. Got a little bit cocky. I've got 2,000 in the bank. Okay, meet the Gatling Spirit. He has a considerably faster attack speed, but needs to be in combat in order to ramp up. So I think it makes sense to have him at the very start when all of the creatures are still alive. He's significantly more expensive, 540 instead of 65 or 45. Obviously this guy's pretty much an elite spirit compared to the previous two. So extended reach, stay at max speed for 6 more seconds, while at max attack speed gain +2 range, or 5 bonus damage and armor penetration. I think because this guy is quite near the start, we don't really need the extra range. So let's go with 5 bonus damage and armor penetration, and we can upgrade him again. So we can increase the maximum attack speed, or we can gain just a simple +10 damage. I think we'll go for the heavy hitter, and the final upgrades are too expensive. Alright, so let's kick this off. So Gatling Gun does extremely well. We are just completely melting them. Okay, I think we're good just to go straight on. We'll slow this down slightly just to get a better look at this. I think, to be fair, this is actually a really nice looking game. I think the spirits do look really good once you zoom in. The enemy creatures are kind of difficult to see properly. If we slow it down a lot, we can see them slightly better. But not really too much to see there. Okay, another Chaos Breach is starting, so we have to choose, once again, a buff and a nerf. So reflexes, increased speed on the monsters, but we get 1 wind element. Upgrade all fire tiles to tier 2. The monsters have 20% increased health, or some extra souls and 5 extra blessings for 4 bonus armor. I think Ignition is definitely winning here because we already have a couple of those active. So we now have projectiles now explode, damaging all nearby enemies. Only attack once every 2 seconds, but bonus attack speed is converted into bonus damage. This guy, it's gain 25 damage and increased explosion radius. Flamethrower now covers a larger area and melts off 20 more armor. So that should be pretty solid. We can see when these Chaos Breaches start, you do get more of a hellish aesthetic that kicks in. So let's see what's coming. So we've got a few elites coming in. I think with our new upgrades we should be fine. Doing a lot of area of effect damage too. Yep, so we got these guys coming in. They're pretty big, they're pretty scary looking. Let's see how well they take the damage. Not well at all, actually. That was easier than expected. But yeah, lots of spare resources, and as far as I'm aware, that doesn't actually increase your score or anything like that. But we've killed 306 enemies, we've killed 17 elites, and our Gatling Spirit actually did the most damage of all our towers, including versus the ones that we actually placed on the Hellements tiles, and the ones that we had right at the start. So you can see how much better the Gatling Spirit is. Okay, so that is the first wave done, the first mission. Pretty easy mission, and we're straight on to mission 2. So this is the Lightning Element. Enemies that walk through the Lightning Element will be shocked for a few seconds. That means they take damage, and nearby enemies take a percentage of that damage. Just like the Fire and Wind elements, spirits can be placed on blessed elements for various buffs. Also take note of those yellow Divine Blessings. These blessings are pre-placed at the beginning of each game. They can be removed to change paths, but won't give you a blessing in return. So I think that's referring to ones like this, which already have the border around them. We compare it to like this one, for example, that one doesn't. So that's kind of more useful as a way of pathing them. Some interesting choices here. So we can see that there are two paths that we have to worry about. This one is the flying path, and it's quite direct. The walking path is much more long-winded, even before we place any tiles, or any blessed tiles. So I think the obvious worry here is, of course, the flyers. We can see that the aesthetic, by the way, is very different in this level. Lots of little seals rolling around, which is kind of cute. Alright, so let's move on. So we've got 160 we can spend. So we need to look at this. So the Explosive Spirit's not capable of targeting flyers. Gatling Spirit is not capable of targeting flyers either. Forest Spirit is. So I think maybe just a simple Forest Spirit somewhere like... Well, that doesn't really work because the walkers won't go there. Well, first wave is just simple imps, so we don't have to worry about that too much. Let's just drop this guy here, and let's see what this actually does. So, fire a projectile at one additional enemy is the one for the Forest Spirit. For the Explosive Spirit, the upgrade is Lightning Strikes after a short delay, and enemies in the center of the strike take 50% increased damage. And for the Gatling Spirit, it's increased maximum attack speed, or +5 maximum attacks per second. We compare that to the wind tile. This is for +2 range, and the spirit can now target flyers. So that seems like a really obvious choice. I think we'll bless that right now. Only costs us 3. I think that's fine. We can force the Hellements through this tile while also giving them quite a long path. So let's put one there. And I am tempted to bless this. We could force them to walk into it instead. So shocked enemies will take some extra damage, but I think it's probably more useful if we just do some extra damage to them. Although, I'd quite like to bless this, and then for now, we'll just have them walk into the lightning. Okay. So is one spirit going to be enough? Possibly, because this will do damage to them as they go through. We'll see how much damage it does. And we do have quite a long path, so we can drop some more spirits if we need to. So they are going to get through. We need to drop another. Let's go with this. There we go. Okay, so we're now up to 260 we can spend. So first thing I think I'll do is I'm going to drop a Forest Spirit right at the start. Still got 215 left to spend. I think we obviously don't need extra range on this guy, so let's go with +10 damage. Although, he can't actually reach the flyer's path. But the next wave coming up is just imps. So we should be good. Yep, so we can pretty much finish them off before they get anywhere, by the looks of it. Okay, so up to 480. I think what I'd like to do is just start this one off. And we're going to wait until we have 540. Then if we drop a Gatling Spirit on this, he gets +2 range and he can now target flyers. Is that enough for him to actually reach this? I can't quite see. Yeah, so we can actually reach them as they come out. So this guy's going to make a massive difference to us. Can attack the flyers, can attack the walkers. Let's kick off the next wave. Yep, so the Gatling Spirit right now is kind of overpowered compared to the level of opponents we're dealing with. Alright, so Chaos Breach is starting. Choose a Chaos Breach modifier. So Fork Lightning is for +1 lightning element to be placed on one of 3 randomly selected tiles. Monsters will gain 20% health. Spiritual Essence will give them +4 armor. And 4 blessings for acceleration. So 4 bonus armor, the way armor works in this game is simply it's a damage threshold that you have to overcome. So if we have forest spirits, for example, that do 12 damage per hit, because of the armor, with 4 bonus armor, those forest spirits will be doing only 8 damage each. So that doesn't really appeal unless we go with a small number of very elite towers. Also, the Gatling Spirit, of course, shoots a lot of projectiles, but each individual projectile doesn't necessarily do that much damage. So I think actually we'll go with Forked Lightning. So our choices are this one, which is very close to where they come in, so that's quite tempting. I think this one wins, because they're all going to be walking through that. We don't have to do anything else with it. Let's go with that. Okay, so we've got 1,000 left to spend, so we have another choice of what we can upgrade. So Sharper Crystals for 5 bonus damage and armor penetration, and Extended Reach for staying at max attack speed for 6 more seconds, while at max attack speed gain +2 range. I think I quite like that just because that will enable us to keep attacking them even as they reach the lightning element. So let's go with that. Okay, let's kick this off. So we got some elites coming in, but the Gatling Spirit not having any trouble with that. Okay, a few of them get through. So we need to have another look at their actual path. So the path right now doesn't really take them towards the Gatling Spirit at all. So we need to try and redirect them. From now on, rounds may contain flyers. Flyers are dangerous enemies that bypass your blessings and fly straight to the base. You can preview their path by looking at the yellow arrows coming from the spawn point. Flyers are also untargetable by many towers unless you've purchased upgrades that allow your spirit to target them. However, the forest spirit can target them by default. Make sure you're frequently keeping an eye out for incoming flyers, using the enemy preview at the top left of the screen. Flyers have a unique border around their portrait, which is this little... not even sure what that is, I guess it's like a claw. But yeah, okay. So let's go back to this guy, and I think we just upgrade him again. We increase his maximum attack speed. I mean, these are kind of even, but I think we'll go for Flurry. This guy will protect us against both the walkers and the flyers, and then we have 6 blessings that we can drop. We want them to go around here if possible, so I'm going to drop one just there. Shouldn't have done that actually, I should have put it there instead. But actually it doesn't make a difference. Alright, so we'll drop one there, we'll drop one there, and that is now... there we go, that's more like it, that's perfect. So that's forcing them to walk through this, then they're forced to walk through this fire element, then they're forced to walk through this lightning element, and then the wind element there. We also have 3 more blessed tiles we can use, so let's think about how to do that. So we do want them to walk around the Gatling, if possible. So I think we put one there, and we put one there. And we've now got a bit of a corridor of death we can go with, just down there. So I don't think anything's really going to get through. I'm going to save my blessings. And this first wave of flyers, very easily dealt with by our elite tower. Don't get overconfident, there could be faster and tougher flyers down the line. This is the Sniper Spirit. She has long range and shoots out multiple projectiles in a cone shape. She can even pierce through a few enemies, but attacks fairly slowly. So she costs 380. Let's see what she does. So if we put her in a wind hex, she gets infinite range, so that's interesting. But while there are no enemies within 2 tiles of the Sniper Spirit, she gains 10 damage. So the obvious case to use that would be somewhere like this, because it's not going to be very common for them to be within 2 tiles of that, although it could happen. If we put them in this instead, enemies are struck by lightning taking damage based on how many enemies the projectile pierces through, so that kind of depends on which direction they come towards it from. If we put it on a fire tile instead, it gets 2 additional projectiles. So I don't think that's actually that useful, because all of this thing's projectiles fire out in different directions, so I don't think we'll go with that. I think maybe we put it here because it does get a good shot along this kind of axis, while also, of course, catching out anything that comes through of flyers, although some of the range is completely wasted there. Maybe this makes more sense. going to go with this. It's a bit wasteful though. I do wonder with this game if, because it costs the same amount to place them on normal hexes and the upgraded hexes, I'm not sure if you're just giving yourself a bit of a disadvantage by placing it on normal hexes. Anyway, she has the ability to target flyers and gains bonus damage when doing so, so she is able to target the flyers along most of that range. Alright, let's go with the next round. And yeah, she shoots 3 at once. We're going to actually tell her to target specifically the flyers, because we're not that bothered about the walkers. She will still attack the walkers when we tell her to attack the air units first, but she will prioritize the flyers. Alright, so next wave is 20 flyers, 8 marauders, which are pretty tough, 500 health. Not too fast. Yeah, I'm not worried about that, let's just kick this off. So the flyers do go down really quickly. This guy does choose to target the flyers. I think that is good, I think we will leave it like that for now. So sharpshooter's perception for +2 range, I think that is pretty good. Let's go with that. Although yeah, like I said, I'm not sure that upgrading this thing is really going to be worth spending much currency on. So next wave coming up is very much ground based. It's Marauders and Hellions. Hellions are really fast. Definitely a bigger threat than Marauders, but I think this guy should be able to take them out. So let's give that a go. So I'm pretty sure these are just the Marauders. And yeah, the Hellions come out, they are very fast. But I don't think they're going to survive, because they still have to go all the way around. Gatling Spirit is able to take them on. He's currently firing at max speed, which gives him a bit of extra range. And he's currently idle, but as they come back around, I'm hoping we can finish them off. Yeah, so they're already kind of half dead before they reach this point, so I'm pretty sure we're safe here. And we've got 2,900 we can spend. So shattering projectiles gain 10 damage. Projectiles shatter on hit, damaging every enemy behind their target. So that feels like a no-brainer. Let's kick off the next round. And yeah, at this point, he should be able to just do a ton of damage, yep. So, flyers, not making it anywhere at all. This guy just waits for them to come back round, and he can finish them off pretty easily. Sniper's doing okay, but I think it might have been better placed on a tile like this instead. But yeah, Gatling Spirit's handling everything completely fine. Alright, so a Chaos Breach is starting, so we have to choose Sweeping Winds, Upgrade all Wind Tiles. That's actually quite tempting. Monsters gain increased speed. Place 1 Hellement on any type of one of 3 randomly selected tiles. But monsters gain 10 bonus health regeneration. Don't think we want to go for that because this is quite a long path, so health regeneration could actually be a bit of a factor. Spiritual Offering gives us a lot more souls, but enemies when dropping below 50% hit points briefly gain massive health regeneration. I think I prefer this one. I'm not too worried about acceleration, so we'll go with that. That upgrades all of these to tier 2, so this will mean that they are slowed by 50% for 6 seconds instead of 4, and on this tile, every 10th attack fires a projectile at every enemy in range. So that looks pretty good. Let's see what we can do with this. So this is the one for infinite range, and tier 2 for this. While there are no enemies within 2 tiles of the Sniper Spirit, deal 50% more damage instead. So that's actually really tempting. Unfortunately, we only have 1 blessing available to us. So we can increase the attack speed of the Sniper, or we can gain 20 damage and +1 pierce. The current damage is 45, so 20 extra damage is going to be not really that much. Doesn't actually increase the damage by that much, so I don't think we go for that. I think we think about going for something like this instead. So while attacking at maximum speed, we gain 10 damage on the Gatling Spirit. This is for +2 projectiles, which is not too useful to us because it's kind of tucked in the corner there. It's not that great. Project a jet of fire that damages enemies and permanently melts off 10 armor. That I really like because that comes in only about halfway through, and as they come through, they'll come back towards the Gatling Spirit, and we can tell him to target the first spirit coming through. So he will focus on the ones coming across to this part of the path, and because they will have lost 10 armor at that point, that seems really good. So we're going to put this guy here, and I think we want increased explosion radius, because we just want to catch as many as possible. Plus the extra range is kind of wasted. So let's go for molten projectiles, and let's go for increased attack speed. So now once they come through this guy, they should be massively weakened, and should be pretty easy to finish them off. Okay, so we got some elite flyers coming out, but they die pretty much just as quickly. Only really last a couple of seconds. Our fire spirit, explosive spirit is shaving off their armor too, but they're not really surviving long enough to cause any problems. Including the elites. Yeah, so that all seems fine. I'm hoping for a few more blessings after this Chaos Breach. Yeah, so I don't know if you always get blessings after Chaos Breaches, but we are now up to 7 blessings. So let's bless this. So armored enemies are coming up. Enemies with armor block a flat amount of damage equal to their armor value. So these guys have armor of 12, which means these guys, these two forest spirits, as they only do 12 damage each, they're going to be doing effectively 1 damage per shot, which is obviously really useless. So let's put this guy on here, because it's going to give him infinite range, and also 50% bonus damage. So we drop that guy there. These two, I think we want an additional 10 damage on this, because that's all going to go above the armor. And with this guy, we also want, I think, plus 10 damage and plus 1 range. So we can now actually upgrade it all the way to the top. So all forest spirits in range get 10 bonus damage against flyers. Projectiles now chain twice, and 40 damage and 20 armor penetration. That's actually really tempting, but I think we should save that. This guy's fully upgraded, so let's go back to this. So we don't need plus 2 range, of course, so let's go with projectiles pierce through 2 additional enemies. And I think increased attack speed, it does cost more. We want this to be as useful as possible, so let's go with that. And let's kick off the next round. Buy armor penetration upgrades to counter enemies with armor. Remember to always be checking enemy preview to see how much armor an enemy has. Okay, I'm not too worried about these. Should be pretty straightforward. We can see this guy does attack right from the start. Is able to hit up to 3 at once. And no one is getting anywhere close to us. Okay, so let's see what's coming up next. So these guys have 5 armor, undead mage, and they're flyers, armored flyers. That should be a threat, but I think we'll be fine. These guys have 7 health regeneration. Again, we've got these kind of kill corridors, so I think they won't survive long enough to cause us any real problems. We also have the Curse Spirit. Curse Spirit applies a curse to enemies that slows them. Many of his upgrades also apply various debuffs to cursed enemies. Okay, so this guy, he can target flyers, he curses them for 8 seconds. Cursed non-elite enemies are slowed down by 20%. That looks pretty good. Let's see what else we can get. So if we put them on a lightning tile, creates a voodoo doll out of a random non-elite enemy on the map. All enemies of that type are cursed and take 100 damage. If we go for the air tile instead, plus 3 range, cursed flyers take 25% increased damage, and cursed flyers can be targeted by any spirit. We only have that tile left to use, and I don't think we're gonna use it for that. If we go for fire instead, all curse effects gain 25% bonus effectiveness. So this curse is going to slow them down. His range is not great. I'm almost tempted by the voodoo doll thing just out of curiosity. Let's do it. We're going to bless this. We're going to drop him in. And let's see what the upgrades are. So cursed enemies have minus 10 armor. That seems very good. Very good reason to put him at the start there. I think we want to increase his range though. His range is really bad. He can't actually get the flyers at all. Still, we don't have that option, so let's just go with... Let's go with minus 10 armor. Curses last for 4 more seconds, and grant bonus attack speed. I think we want longer lasting curses. And, okay, so should have probably checked the upgrade tree, but none of this guy's curses, none of his upgrades actually increase our range. There is Fragile Wings, of course, but that does require us to have 3 air elemental left, which we don't. So let's just kick this off. So the undead mages actually die even faster than expected. This guy is going for his curses, so we can see that they're all slowed down. I can't see what his voodoo doll is. I'm not sure if it shows me that. If I slow this down, voodoo doll. It just looks like a typical voodoo doll. I can't really see what type of units he's cursing, but we can see the curses do last quite a while, and no one's even getting close to this point. So we can upgrade him some more, so curses now slow enemies by 30% instead of 20%. Curses store 10% of all damage taken. Upon expiring, the curse explodes, dealing stored damage to all nearby enemies. And cursed enemies are worth 25% more souls. So that's actually a really interesting upgrade, has obviously pretty massive gameplay implications. I think going forward to future levels, you would probably want to go for Harvest as much as possible, and as early as possible. But on this particular level, we're at stage 3 of 4, we're about halfway through it, so Harvest doesn't really win. I think what I'd prefer to do is to slow them down even more, because it keeps them in this guy's range for as long as possible. So we'll go for that. That's really expensive. Probably a bit too expensive. We can see some armored elites coming out. Yeah, only doing 6 damage per shot, so perhaps we need to think about how we can do more damage to this guy. Although he is mostly dead, and looks like he is on his own. Fortunately. Nope, second one's coming up, I jinxed it. So a second one of these elites is coming out. Let's see, what upgrades can we do? So we can take this guy up to 20 damage plus 1 pierce. Looks like this guy's buffing his friends too. I should have actually checked what he does. You can see he's got a bit of an aura. We have cursed him, and we will be able to melt off some of his armor. But yeah, I need to start spending some of this, I think. Yeah, the curse is good, but I'm not sure we needed to spend 4,000 on it. That was a bit overkill. So do we want 40 damage and 20 armor penetration? That feels pretty good. Going for it a bit late. We can see he now looks completely different. He's taken on this much more autumnal appearance. But yeah, I think we should be fine for this wave because they all have to walk past the Gatling Spirit, and he's going to have no trouble. We can see the curse does activate there and does do 100 damage to all of these different creatures. There we go, so just the elite left. And he's not going to be a problem. The Gatling Spirit does struggle to do enough damage to him, so he has 25 base damage. So that's kind of the weakness of the Gatling Spirit. He's not very good against armored opponents. Alright, so next round coming up, let's look at this more. So undead mages. This guy can target flyers. He's really good too. This guy's really good. And we have the sniper spirits too, so this should be fine. Yeah, not even close. Yeah, they're coming up too slowly. Their own good. Oh, there we go. There was an elite at the end. But very easy wave. Obviously, the point of these flying waves is it kind of depends on whether you're prepared for them or not, but we have been taking them into account from the very start. Okay, so this guy looks kind of scary. He's got the haste ability, so enemy creatures do now have abilities they can use. Upon spawning, he briefly gains massive speed. That's really interesting because I do have my kind of kill zone right at the start, and this guy appears to be designed to escape that. There's 2,000 health. No armor though, so that's good. These guys have 12 armor, which is a bit of a problem. These guys have regeneration. Yeah, this is difficult. We're going to prioritize air-based opponents. We do have 6,000 we can spend. So let's see what else we can do. So return to sender, projectiles pierce through 5 more enemies when targeting ground units. Projectiles return to the sniper spirit, that's interesting. Gain 30 damage, projectiles now penetrate through all armor. Okay, let's see what we can do with this guy instead. So attacks deal greatly increased damage against elites. And summon a gravity bomb that pulls in enemies before exploding. Both of those sound pretty good to me. I'm not bothered about cluster bombs. I think Elite Hunter sounds really nice. Let's go with that. Okay, so we've still got a bit more we can spend. I quite like this. Projectiles return to the sniper spirit, so that probably effectively doubles the damage. Although, we might be better off just going with more conventional upgrades for now. Maybe a second Gatling Spirit, perhaps. If we were to put a Sniper Spirit on this, it gets 2 additional projectiles. That sounds quite good. I think I'll go with that. And I'm going to give it as much range as possible. So 20 damage and +1 pierce, and increased attack speed. I think we'll go with increased attack speed. Yeah, I'm not sure that's really the best thing we could have done, but I want to make use of as many tiles as possible. So let's see, we're not going to have any trouble with flyers whatsoever, but I'm a bit worried about some of these elites. We can see the guys who do sprint through at the start, they speed up all the way up to this first fire element, and that appears to be the kind of point where they start to run out of steam a bit. We can see this guy is firing 5 projectiles at once. And there we go, we're still doing completely fine. Okay, this I think is the final Chaos Breach, so 1,600 souls and upgrade all wind tiles to tier 3, I didn't check what that does. Elites permanently gain 25 bonus health regeneration. Or we can place 2 Hellements of any type in 2 of 5 randomly selected tiles. That sounds pretty good too. Although it does activate Organic Reconstruction, where monsters gain 15 bonus health regeneration and monsters gain 10 bonus armor. Don't like the sound of that. Burning Offering gives us 4 blessings, place 1 fire element on 1 of 3 randomly selected tiles, but enemies gain the ability on death to heal all nearby enemies. So I think this one definitely wins. Let's see what this does for us. So this is now going to slow them by 75% for 6 seconds. This guy's upgrade is going to give him 5 bonus damage for each tile between the Sniper Spirit and the enemy hits. That sounds really good. This guy, it's every 3rd attack, fires a projectile at every enemy in range. That's okay, that's not bad. Okay, so what have we got coming up? We've got Brutes. So that's a lot of armor. Scavengers for the regeneration. Undead Mages. We've got more Bulwarks. I remember these guys. The Guardian Aura is what it's called. Absorbs all damage taken from enemies in his aura. So we want this guy dead as soon as possible. There are also some Stalkers who are of course going to rush through, but I'm not really too worried about that. They should be finished off by the Gatling Spirit. So I just want to do as much damage as possible as quickly as possible. So stopping power, 30 damage. Projectiles now penetrate through all armor. That immediately sounds really good, although the range is not really good enough. Spray and pray. No, none of this stuff increases our range, so that's not really what we need. We go back to this guy instead. 20 damage and +1 pierce. This guy we can do a bit more damage to the armored creatures, which is tempting. We don't have any blessings to spend, we just have 1. Perhaps... No, I was hoping there's some way we could slow them down a bit more, but not really. I guess we could do this. Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, so we got 10,000 to spend. That should be enough. This is a really scary wave, so you need to think about this a bit carefully. So we have this guy cursing them. We try to drop this guy somewhere like this. We'd need him to be on this island, really, to really get the full effect on everything coming through. So we won't go with a Curse Spirit. I think Gatling Spirit, we just need something that does more damage. So let's see about upgrading damage as much as possible. So this guy needs Heartstone for sure. Projectiles are thrown with more force, gaining +1 range and 10 damage. Let's go with that too. And then 40 damage and 20 armor penetration. Let's go with that. Let's do the same thing with this guy, I think. There we go. So we still have 6k left to spend. Could go with another Gatling Spirit. Gatling Spirit doesn't really help us much against the Bulwark. I think I'll drop this guy here. Then let's go with +5 damage and +1 range. Then let's go with bonus damage. Then let's do greatly increased damage against elites. Because we want that thing dead. These bulwarks, we want them dead as soon as possible. We can see that we have upgraded into a new appearance with these two as well, which does look pretty cool. But yeah, let's kick this off. We have 3,000 that we can spend towards the end if we need to. Bulwark is rushing through. This is a different type of elite. So one of the bulwarks I'm pretty sure did just die. Second one is coming out, but we do finish them off pretty quickly. Flyers are not causing us any problems, so it's just the walkers we're worried about. Still think this is going fine. I'm not going to spend anything just yet. This does seem fine. Yeah, they reach this point, they slow down massively. Okay, so there are just a few elites at the end, but because we do have the elite upgrade, we are killing them off pretty quickly. Okay, so we're now up to stage 4 of 4. Enemies with regen will heal once a second, however, burning enemies with the fire element reduces their regeneration. Okay, so we already know about that. We already have a fire element that we are burning them with. Doesn't really affect our decisions too much. Okay, so Stalkers and Barons. So Barons have massive health regen, so we need them dead quickly, but we do have 2 very upgraded units here, so I think that should be fine. What we could do is throw in another Gatling Spirit. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to drop a Gatling Spirit there. I'm going to go for +2 range. I'm going to rep maximum attack speed. We're going to go for increasing the maximum attack speed, and let's go for... So we can either deal more damage to the higher an enemy's health. Projectiles chain 5 times but deal 50% less damage. And shattering projectiles. We went with shattering projectiles on the previous guy, but that was quite a cheap option. I think crystalline rebound sounds a lot more fun. I should have actually checked this. We can actually bless a new tile as well. So let's bless this one. And let's bless this one. Okay, let's look at our options again. So this is for increased maximum attack speed, +5 maximum attacks per second. For this guy, it's creates a voodoo doll, but he's not close enough there. This causes enemies to be struck by lightning, which is quite good if they all gather up at this point here, but I don't think we'll go with that. This guy, he just doesn't have enough range, so we won't go with him. And this guy is going to be able to fire at an additional 1 enemy. I think maybe Railgun, because they're going to be massively slowed down going through this. And also, as they all spawn, they will spawn on top of each other at this first point there. So let's go with a sniper. Let's go with projectiles piercing through additional enemies. Let's go with additional pierce. But before we do this, let's also go with a curse spirit just here. He will curse them as they come through. We can drop the health regeneration, or we can drop their armor. So we went with armor last time. This time let's go with minus health regeneration. Let's go with bonus attack speed, because they're not going to be in range for long. And we can increase the slow. We can get more souls. This is kind of the worst possible point to go for that. Or curses store 10% of all damage taken. Curses explode when they expire. That's the one to go for, I think. We are just one soul away from buying that. So let's do that. Let's extend the path around this guy. And let's extend the path here as well. So they have their massive regeneration, but if we finish them off quickly, could see the elite did get a lot of health back, but we were just about able to finish them off before they could get all of it back. So the elites are a bit problematic, but we do have our elite killers. We are finishing them off. Alright, so 6,075 for the curses to store 10% of all damage taken. Let's definitely go for that, that's going to be really good. So we can see they all get slowed down here, and at this point they're going to be taking massive amounts of damage. They are regenerating most of it off because these sniper spirits don't do too much damage, but that is the perfect place for the railgun. For the railgun ability to do as much damage as possible. Alright, so 4,000 left to spend. I think we can upgrade this guy perhaps. No, I don't care about that, let's save it for now. I didn't actually check what this guy is, but he appears to have good armor and good regeneration. Yeah, really struggling to wear that guy down. But still seems all fine for now. Let's slow this down just to get a good look at the chaos. So one thing I wish this game did do is I wish it did actually show you the characteristics of the enemies as you hover over them, instead of just at the start. But never mind. Speed this up. So we still have a few waves left, and there is some threat, but mostly seems fine. So there's Helldrakes, which have good speed, good armor, and an okay amount of health, but no regen. And then Barons, which we've dealt with quite a few times before. So I think we're mostly worried about the flyers. I mean, we're not really worried, but let's make sure that we completely ignore armor. And let's make sure that we do as much damage to the Barons as possible before they can heal up. So we just want someone who's going to do a lot of damage very quickly. So let's go with this. Let's go with +5 bonus damage. Let's go with 10 damage. And let's go with a further 10 damage. Or in fact, we can do bonus damage the higher the maximum health is, which sounds pretty good for taking on the elites. So let's go with that. And then we are locked. We can't go with the further upgrades. Alright, let's kick this off. So at this point we're just killing the Barons off far too quickly for their health regen to really cause us too many problems. We can see that because we have taken this Gatling Spirit down a different path to this one, they do have different colours, which is quite a cool thing. As they pass through the fire element, they are losing some of their regen ability, which is great. And it's just this one elite at the back that we can see is regenerating too quickly for us to actually kill off. But once he reaches the Gatling Spirits, we will be fine. But yeah, that is definitely the go-to regeneration enemy. That's a bit of a problem. Bit awkward to deal with. Okay, so 43 of these. Are we actually worried about that? I think we're fine. I'm going to slow it down just to make sure. So there are elites, but the elites, yeah, they go down really quickly. They've not even made it through 2 hexes. We can just speed this up. Going to be completely fine. Yeah. We have completely handled the flyers with no trouble at all. Okay, so next wave, let's see. Alright, so we got Scavengers who have a lot of armor. We've got more Helldrakes, which are not a problem. We've got Barons. Don't like dealing with the Barons, but we've kind of got a plan for them. And finally, we've got Bloated Zombies. Heals nearby enemies on death. So that could be a problem because when the Bloated Zombies die, they're going to heal up the Scavengers. Which means the Scavengers are going to get through this first section. And all of our kind of high damage per shot spirits are right at the start. Although we do have this guy. He should be able to beat them. But just to be safe, perhaps we should throw in one more. So lightning strikes. Kind of depends on who has the highest damage. So let's actually have a look. This guy does 55 base damage. This guy does 72 base damage. And we already know these guys just don't do much base damage at all. Alright, so I think just conventional forest spirits. So we're going to drop this guy there. We're going to do extra damage. Although actually, extra range would have been really good there. I should have gone for that. In this case, let's go for kinetic bolts for that extra range. And let's go with... So root network is completely not needed. Projectiles chain twice is interesting. But yeah, I think Nature's Wrath does just win. So let's see how this goes. So we can see the bloated zombie. He does come in as an elite. He's got pretty good regen. Dies off and he does heal up this guy, but these armored guys coming through, we can still handle them, that's fine. So we got another zombie there. Does go down. Yeah, so there are 3 of them in total. They're not causing us too many problems. There we go. Okay, so charred souls, we can gain 3,700 souls, upgrade all fire tiles to tier 2, but elites gain increased speed, and everyone gets bonus regen. Blessing of the Hellements for 4 blessings, place any Hellement on 1 tile of your choosing. That's really interesting. But elites permanently gain 30 bonus health regen, and monsters gain 30 increased health. Not sure about that, that seems like quite a big upgrade. Discharge will place 2 lightning elements on any 2 tiles, and will unlock the permanent elite ability on dropping below 50% hit points, briefly gain massive health regeneration. So none of those sound good to me at all. I think it's between Charred Souls and Blessing of the Hellements. This seems like the bigger bonus. Faster elites is a bit scary, but I think we go with this. So that upgrades this tile. So this guy's now going to do 25 damage and increased explosion radius. Flamethrower covers a larger area and melts off 20 more armor, so that's pretty good. This guy is going to do 15 extra damage, and projectiles now execute elites below 20% health. That's awesome. That's just what we need. There are a lot more bloated zombies this time, so that's pretty scary. In terms of armor, the scavengers are a bit of a problem. Helldrakes we don't really worry about too much, so we can kind of ignore that. So we just need to focus on dealing as much damage as possible, but ideally not being stopped by armor. So I think we want to make sure that they really get killed as they come through this little corridor. So, only thing to think about now... Actually, let's look at this too. So actually this fire hex now causes 40% increased damage for 8 seconds. So we probably want to do more damage in that part of the world. Yeah, I'd be tempted just to drop a Gatling Spirit. Just there. Not going to help us with the scavengers, but should help us finish off the barons. Let's obviously go for the armor penetration. Then let's go for more damage to ignore as much armor as possible. And then we have the option of Giant Slayer, which is very expensive, but with all these elites coming through, I think that does make sense. Okay, so we still have 9,000 left to spend. I think I'll go with this, because these guys are very good at targeting walkers, they can't target flyers, and we just want to do as much damage to any walkers that get through. So 5 damage and +1 range, or 5 damage and increased explosion radius. I think we go for the extra range. Then we'll go for the bonus damage. And let's go again for Elite Hunter, because we want to make sure that once the elites come through, they are just going to be finished off by volley. Also got this guy who can do more damage to enemies with higher health. I think we could just go with that again. But we do have some other options. We put this guy here. His range is not good enough at first, but we can upgrade it. So we upgrade it twice. And then we go with the extra damage and extra armor penetration. And that is going to be able to hit them as they come through the fire. We're going to make sure we target the first creatures coming through, because that way the first ones to come through and get burned by the fire are going to be shot constantly. I think we just go with more forest spirits. So let's go with our usual +1 range and +1 range again. Then let's go with the extra damage. One thing I do like about the Chaos Breaches, by the way, is the aesthetics do change a bit. So we have actually got a little imp guy just doing some fishing up there. But yeah, I think we've spent about as much as we want to, so let's see how this goes. So elite flyers are coming through, but they still don't get too far, so we're really more worried about this stuff. But hopefully once they go through the fire element, they will start taking a lot of extra damage. So yeah, we do seem to be dealing with them okay. They've got to go all the way around, and so far they're all being killed off by the time they reach this guy. He can finish off the elites, and the masses aren't really doing too much to us. Yep, so that was easy actually. That was much easier than thought. Okay, so we've actually unlocked a few things. So we've unlocked Chapter 2, we've unlocked the Cyclone Spirit, and we've got a couple of Hallowed Runes. Gatling Spirit once again does the highest amount of damage. That was significantly more long-winded than the first level, of course. But still quite early into the game. As you progress through the game, you get to go to the Hallowed Grounds. You can use Hallowed Runes to unseal spirit upgrades. So we could see before that some of the very final upgrades were completely off limits to us. So we can go to this guy, for example. We can unseal any of these different types of upgrades. So we can go with Nature's Wrath, we can go with Chaining Projectiles, or we can go with Root Network. Root Network gives all forest spirits bonus damage against ground units. That's quite interesting, because it pairs with the previous tech, and kind of incentivizes you to just have a massive amount of forest spirits in the same place. Aim for the wings, additional damage against flyers. I mean, it doesn't seem that great. If we go with the blue route instead, there is Decomposition. Whenever an enemy gets hit by the spirit and dies, gain bonus damage and attack speed for the rest of the wave. Charging ricochets. Projectiles chain 3 additional times, dealing 10% more damage per chain. Okay, so let's go to Nature's Wrath next. This was the one we liked in the previous mission, but we can upgrade it even further. So there's Wild Growth, which gives you 30 extra damage. Gain 30 damage for each adjacent vacant blessing. If 6 adjacent tiles are blessed and vacant, deal 100% more damage. That sounds really good. Then there's Blind Rage, which gives you 100 damage, however this spirit can no longer target elites. That doesn't sound that great to me. You're going to have to pay quite a lot for that. We could also upgrade this guy, for example. But yeah, there's a lot of upgrades you can get, but I'm not going to go through all of them right now. That is kind of a key gameplay mechanic. We have this guy who we've not looked at at all yet. Let's just have a quick look at him. So he's the Cyclone Spirit. Can't actually see his details just from this. Can we afford to upgrade, to unseal his upgrades straight away? Yes, we can. So, apply 60 additional bleed stacks to elites. Sounds interesting, but we don't know what this guy does yet. Still, we've done the first couple of levels, as I said I would. There is all of this stuff, which you can move on to next. You have a choice of 3 levels to start with. Then there's a 3rd chapter, a 4th chapter, and a 5th chapter. So, the game does go on for quite some time. Quite a lot to come up. Not sure if I will continue to make more videos of this game, but if I do, I will put a playlist link in the description. This game is available on Steam. I believe it costs $12 is its launch price, so it will come down at some point in the sale if you want to wait for it. But yeah, that's Spirits of the Hellements. Hope you guys found it interesting. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content, and I'll see you next time.